Hello, beautiful, and welcome to Mom Talk Sex, the podcast with me, Maury Elvington, your host. I'm so excited for this super steamy conversation I'm going to have with the beautiful Melanie Bonk.
Yeah.
Hi, so
Hi,
happy.
yay.
So, Melanie was here before, and I brought her back because she is like the most amazing. I'll
Ah,
let her introduce herself and tell you guys what she does, but I think you should stay for this conversation. It's going to rock your world.
yes. Hi, my name is Melanie and my last name is Bonk. So I am here to help you bonk better. I am a somatic sexuality and relationship coach. And what that really looks like is I guide people and folks, even couples, back into their bodies, back into their sensuality, their ecstasy, their bliss. Because oftentimes trauma, conditioning, imprints from all over the world actually enter into our nervous system. And they actually create new pathways that keep our pleasure small, keep it inside a box, and keep us stuck in our mind loop. And when we get out of our minds and back into the power of our bodies, that's when real bliss and spirituality enter our sex life, enter our pleasure, and we get to really actually step into the empowerment of our pleasure and stand with this energy and vitality and this aliveness running through our bodies. So that is a little glimpse into the work that I do, and I work with individuals and couples.
I love that so much. And that's such an amazing introduction. I call this your diamond status when it's like when you're all aligned with your body, mind, soul, and source. It's like diamond
Mm.
status, and all the things start coming to you and, coming to life and to fruition. And I believe sex is such a huge part of this. That's why I do this podcast. And so I love to have you on because I want to bring some more fun into the bedroom.
Ah,
I figured who else can we bring than you? And I've seen
ee.
one I was like sharing before that I saw one of your reels and you were sharing about some toys. And we don't really have too many toy segments on here. And I think that's a
Mhm.
really big part in so many of couples, relationships. So before we dive in, maybe you can tell us a little bit about maybe couples that have never had toys in the bedroom and how to even start with that, bringing something home
Mhm.
into that very sacred place.
Yeah, first thing I want to say is toys in the bedroom do not take anything away from your partner or each other. So that is like, I think, one of the biggest misconceptions, that all of a sudden, if there's a toy in the bedroom, it becomes a competitor and it makes your sex life less than. So just be like, notice right now when you're thinking about toys in the bedroom, what that does to your body. What's the messaging? What's the meaning that your brain puts on that? Because it's really our brains that make the meaning. And so what does that look like for you? And you can even project and maybe even start to guess what that might look like for your partner. I know I've worked with a lot of men that have insecurities around toys, and it's so righteous. Like that's there for a reason. And addressing that and talking about it, unpacking it together in a safe environment where you're both grounded. Um, I even love to, a way you can start this conversation with your partner is I like to do a compliment sandwich. So it's like, wow, remember that sex we had even last week? Just thinking about an honest moment in your experience together that felt really good and you want more of that. Compliment that. Like, remember that time and it was so hot and so juicy and I felt so deeply connected to you. I really want more of that. And then you bring in kind of like the meat of your compliment sandwich and be like, I'm really curious about exploring toys or bringing in some pleasure tools into the bedroom to expand our capacity together even more. And then wrap it back up with another compliment, like the bottom bun of that sandwich, because I really love our time in the bedroom together. I love that freedom and that play that we get to experience together when we take the time for it and when we have the privacy for it. Like this is a conversation about moms and sex, and so I've got 4 kids. That kind of sex and connection doesn't happen on a Tuesday evening. That's,
Right.
that's the space for, okay, let's like quickly maintain, let's get some maintenance sex in. these explorations, especially with toys, like you need the freedom and the space to explore, to be loud, to like play and laugh. And sometimes that doesn't always go well when the house is full of our family members. So also noticing what's the environment that works out best for you for that. What do you need? I need if the kids are home, I need like our ocean wave sound machine on in one corner and then a Bluetooth speaker in the other corner. So it like drowns out any background noise. I know I personally need that. I need like the lighting to be different because I need to get out of the mom mode and into the sex goddess mode.
Yes, I love that so much. Do you, okay, so what are some maybe tips that you can give couples in terms of what to start with if they don't even know how to begin, going in? Let's say
Hmm.
together they're like, okay, we want to add some toys. How do we even, I feel like some people are so maybe even embarrassed to walk into like a sex store, right? So like,
Yeah.
what are different ways to even find these kind of things right now?
Yeah, that's such an honest question. And the embarrassment is, um, again, it's valid. It's your nervous system keeping you safe. So if you feel that, oh my gosh, I love to meet that with gratitude. Like I feel insanely embarrassed and small, and I just want to crawl inside my shirt. That's a cue for me to be like, oh, nervous system. You're keeping me safe. That's so amazing. Thank you so much. Like dip into the gratitude for the nervous system, which usually calms down that embarrassment. It brings a little more depth into your experience. And then you can actually update your nervous system as well. You can say, you know what? But I'm going into the sex positive store, which is important to maybe research where you're going. We're down here in Southern Oregon, and we have a beautiful sex positive store where every single employee is an actual sex educator and has training. And so that vibe, I'll go ahead and drop it. It's As You Like It. And they've got a location in Ashland, Oregon, as well as Eugene, Oregon.
Oh,
But the vibe in there is so welcoming. I actually work there every now and then. It's so welcoming, and everyone, like I said, is an educator. So some kind of pleasure educator, which is like, it gets there's no sleazy kind of gross sticky floor vibe that you can get in some other places. So finding maybe a higher end boutique store that has that kind of staff or has that capacity, and then shopping online. But when we shop online, we also want to be really conscious about what we're shopping and where we're doing that, because you're going to maybe be putting some things inside of your body and you want to be aware of the textures, the chemicals, the processing. So, one of my favorite online stores is the Yoni Pleasure Palace, and they're actually in Australia. So, a awesome part of them is they're female owned. They're like this, they create such beautiful handcrafted um, toys that are really body friendly, body safe, and with that underlying current of healing. Like we're using these toys for pleasure as well as healing our body. And so the vibration, even in that, like in the, my very favorite glass wand is from there. The only downside is that in this political climate, there is a tariff on the products. So if you go in and you use the code bonk better, you get a discount, which will take away maybe some of the tariff money. So just note, noting that companies from other countries are suffering from our tariffs that we've put on in this country. So, not to get political, but just notice because I went in to actually purchase another glass wand and I was like, oh no, there's like a tariff. Ah, it's all right. I have this coupon. Bum, bum, bum.
that's awesome. So, I feel like a lot of times, do you recommend couples kind of doing this together or um, more for a woman to start healing herself and find more pleasure in her body and connect to her body to find what she likes and then maybe add that to the bedroom?
Well, I'm going to say C, all of the above.
Yeah.
There is, let's first talk about the woman, right? I
Mhm.
know I had to go through, I got to go through, I didn't have to go through, I got to go through my own pleasure awakening. And that was after being with my husband for, let's see, I started this in 2020. And so we were already together for over 20 years. And having amazing sex, having orgasmic sex, having moments of ecstasy. But I didn't know what I didn't know at that moment. So I didn't know that I could actually take my capacity for pleasure so much farther and deeper when I started to begin my own healing journey. And we think about, we go to therapy. I'm a somatic therapist, so I'm working in the body. We go to yoga, we go work out, we watch what we eat. We do all of these things for our body of our health. But an area that gets constantly ignored is the power of our pussy, like the power of our pussy. And so, this amazing energetic portal that is between our thighs is worthy of her own healing journey. And I what an amazing thing that I learned is that our vulvas, our vaginas, the inside of our tissue actually carries her own trauma body. So there are stored emotions, stored tensions, stored um, literal trauma that's living inside the tissues of our vaginas. And you can't really release them all the way with like a body part. For me, it took that glass wand or the yoni egg to really actually feel the release of that. And by the release of it, I mean like when you're squeezing around something hard, like I've got my yoni egg right here. So when you're squeezing around all your pelvic floor muscles around this is particular one is jade, this egg, the egg doesn't give. The egg isn't soft. The egg isn't like a silicone dildo. The egg is hard. This is a piece of earth in my body. And so when I'm squeezing around it, that tissue actually gets that deep healing. It's like a deep tissue massage versus like a soft Swedish massage. So a hard toy allows us as women to release and reclaim all of that pleasure inside of our vaginas. And it also allows us to experience ecstasy and pleasure on a whole different capacity.
I love
And
that. So, sorry, I was
mhm,
gonna say you were married for 20 years and you were having good sex, so it wasn't like it was an
yeah.
issue, a problem. So, what actually made
Mm-mm.
you to, what made you realize that there is more or that you wanted more if there was nothing wrong, right? A lot of times I feel like people
Mhm.
look for the, when it's wrong, that's when we fix it, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, this is kind of like a little journey. I saw that one of my mentors, Layla Martin, had a sex, love, and relationship coaching certification. And at that point, I was done working in corporate and I was home raising my kids. Like I said, we've got four boys. And had already become kind of the go-to person for relationship and sex advice with my friends. I mean, my kitchen table was like a hotbed for group sessions before I was holding group sessions. And so I like looked at my husband. I was like, wow, I didn't know that I could actually do a career doing this. I love this. Like, this is literally my passion. I've been talking about sex with women in the round since like high school. We would get together at lunch and I would start asking questions and being like, what did you experience? What was it like? Let's compare, let's contrast, let's see what each other are experiencing and what do we want to play with our boyfriends or partners that night. So I said to my husband, I'm like, when the kids are gone, this is what I want to do. And he goes, babe, this is your calling. You should do this now. Um, at that moment in my life, we were selling our farm, literally selling the farm and moving out, selling all of our stuff and moving into a 40-foot fifth wheel with our four young kids and going off on a 2 year like RV adventure throughout the country. And so I was like, well, I mean, the timing kind of seems a little like a lot. I'm going to be homeschooling kids all of a sudden. We're going to be traveling. We're going to be like nomads. But then that's just like the yes person in me was like, but yeah, I really, really want this. So when I signed up for her program, I had no idea actually that I was going to be going into a third of the program was all about our own healing journey. And it was very much internal work because we can only guide clients as far as we've gone. And so I had no concept that I was going to be involved in this complete pleasure sex switch awakening priestess inside of me. But that is exactly what happened. The Oni egg and a glass wand were our tools. So on that RV trip, I would say, boys, I need you to go play, go on a hike because I have to do 90 minutes of homework. And it was 90 minutes of self-pleasuring and bliss and pleasure and awakening and sometimes screaming and slobbering and just being wild and primal. So um, that is how this awakening started in me. And like you said, and like I said, our sex life was great. We had amazing sex. We had sex 3 or 4 times a week. Um, but I didn't know that I was putting the cap on my own pleasure because I had still unmet needs from childhood lingering. I had trauma from sexual abuse that was still in a vibration in my body. I didn't know the capacity of my own pleasure. So therefore, I couldn't go there with my partner. And so I learned that, oh, wait a second, I am actually my best lover. I love my husband and he can pleasure me for hours and hours and hours and like have give me 3 hour orgasms. But I know, and he knows that I am still my best lover because I know my body. I know what I like. I know what touch really turns me on. I know which spot is like, oh my God, that's the spot. That's the spot. And, he doesn't think that's an insult to him. He actually respects it deeply with reverence. And he's understands that the same is for him as well.
I love that so much because I feel like this is such a great example for even when things are good, how it could just get even more and more better, more and more orgasmic, more and more intense.
Yeah.
And so I feel like tools can definitely enhance that when you bring that on if you
Mhm.
haven't done that before. So do you have anything that you can share that could work or that people would use?
Yes, I brought a couple toys to play with, or tools, pleasure tools, but I have to be honest, my my favorite tools are literally all over the world right now. So my favorite glass wand from the Yoni Pleasure Palace is in our Costa Rica house. I left it there in August last year, and because we were supposed to go back in October, and my husband was just like, just leave it there in case it gets broken. That way we've got it. You don't have to carry it down again. But then our October trip was canceled, and it's still there. So my favorite glass wand is right now in Costa Rica, and I am in Oregon. And then my second favorite glass wand from Yoni Pleasure Palace is in our RV in storage. So I'm bringing up some other toys that I really love as well, but just letting you know that this is the reality of um, being a mom who's trying to experience pleasure wherever she can, whether it's in the RV for a weekend or in Costa Rica away from the kids. So I mentioned the yoni egg, which is so powerful. And most yoni eggs, they come in a variety of sizes, and I think this is about a medium size. There is a hole at the end, so you can put floss through it. The yoni egg's not going to get lost up there. And the floss
Perfect.
actually is kind of fun when it's in there and you're squeezing and you give the little floss a tug. But at this point in my yoni egg life and career, I don't use the floss anymore, and I just allow her to come out naturally when she does. I was actually a few weeks ago, I had just finished a personal sex magic practice, and I was walking in the kitchen, and it had been like an hour or two, but she was still up there hanging out. And I was talking to my older son and his girlfriend, and I was like, "Oh, here it comes!" And I just like put my hand down. I'm like, "Look, I laid an egg." I mean, they're 19, so they're like, "Oh my God, I cannot believe that just happened," but it did. I just laid an egg. Um, so this, so it's the egg is so fun. I love the egg. And it's really powerful. I love guiding women using the egg. And that's even before we get into the tools, I really part of my awakening and part of the awakening that I help other women with and help them reclaim is the permission to go deep into pleasure. Because the kind of pleasure and the sensual, wild creature that we all are, it's never displayed anywhere. We don't actually see that. And in fact, images of women in full ecstasy, like grunting and using their sound and moving in ways, they're usually portrayed as witches or evil. So having having a group of sisters or having a guide who is a female who can help you unlock all of that conditioning and return to what is naturally yours, the state of ecstasy, through movement, through sound, through like someone there saying, "Yeah, keep going, keep going, keep going." It like makes this catalytic effect in our bodies, and it gives us so much permission. So I just want to say that, like, if you're hearing these words and it's even landing like, "Oh, that's not for me. This isn't who I am. Like, that's for some other woman." Know right now, like, let your body really receive this, that this is for every person, this kind of ecstasy, this kind of bliss, full body, head to toe, through the fingertips, orgasms that are so healing and nourishing for our body. So I just want to say that now because it can feel really overwhelming and your nervous system might be like ready to freak the fuck out right now.
Yeah,
Okay.
totally.
So this is our one of our favorite toys. This is the Enjoy, and it is metal. It is heavy. I'm gonna say it's like at least a pound. I think it's actually over a pound. Again, we travel with our toys often, so we like weighed this and we're like, ooh, this has to come out of the suitcase because we're 1 pound overweight. But we did carry it on. So this is metal, and again, it's that same concept of if I'm squeezing around it, my hand is not pushing in on this metal toy. My hand is actually getting like a massage from this toy as I'm squeezing it. And so that's what happens in our pelvic bowl. I love this toy as a every person toy. It is technically not anal safe because it doesn't have a stopper, but I mean, it's really lovely for the P spot as well. So I'm giving you just a little, so like a little tip that wits are one of our favorite P spot toys, but it's also technically not anal safe. So just putting that warning out there. And I love it because, we can start off with both ends. So sometimes, my, just like every woman, turn on takes 30 to 40 minutes. So maybe I'll start with the smaller end and work my way up as my muscles start to relax, as the blood starts to pump into my erectile tissue, into the pussy. And then I can always switch hands or switch ends. I love it also as just inserting it, letting it just be, letting it go all the way and letting it rest and feeling the weight of it, and then squeezing again the PC muscles around it. I know that I in pleasure was very passive. I was like, okay, I just lay there, I spread my legs open, and that's it. But
Mhm.
we have so much, can pump so much more pleasure and energy into our vulvas when we squeeze the PC muscles. So even this one is like, I love to insert it, just let it hang. And then I squeeze all around it with my pelvic floor muscles as I'm breathing, as I'm moving, as I'm sounding, as I'm probably also rubbing my clitoris. And sometimes like the deliciousness when it falls out is like, oh, and like that just sends it right over the edge. So there's so many fun ways to play. You can just be creative. It's like this never ending playground that you have a like endless pass to. It's not like you need the recess pass to go. um, so that's the Enjoy. And it is a beautiful toy. You can find them online. You can get them at As You Like It. And then I've got this. This is our third glass one from Yoni Pleasure Palace. And it's also a little bit big, a little bit heavy. And the funny thing is I would always use it kind of like this was the handle, and I would insert it like this, which feels amazing. And then my husband used it one time and he did the opposite where he put this end in, and I was like, oh, I didn't even realize it went in that way also. I thought it was just like the handle. So like that kind of freedom and play is available to everybody, and the vulnerability as well as the curiosity. Like I'm a sex coach and I was probably using this backwards the whole time, but it felt good, so I didn't care.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these toys are um they're, and I really like the fact that you keep saying tools. These tools for pleasure are incredible. And when now you have maybe explored them by yourself in your solo play, bringing them in to partner play creates a completely different experience. So when my husband is giving me a sacred yoni massage, so yoni is the Sanskrit word for our vulva, the anatomy inside, the anatomy outside, as well as the energetic portal. So there's some really beautiful sacred practices that have been done for thousands and thousands of years to help women experience bliss and pleasure and heal. And one of them is that sacred yoni massage. And so when he's using these tools, um, I can actually get to a different emotional healing state because I actually have to physically surrender. So
Mm.
these practices, like I'm laying, I've got pillows. I mean, I like spend 20 minutes getting my whole area set up for this practice. I arranged pillows. There's a nice soft wedge pillow underneath my booty. There's soft blankets. I've again the music and the noise and the lights. And he sits in between my legs and he gives me it's there's almost like a flow to it. And at this point, we've done it so many times, he knows the flow. But it's something that I love guiding couples in because it's that flow needs to be taught. Just like we go to the gym, just like we go to
Right.
get training, it needs to be taught. And the flow really allows for that surrender. So when I say surrender, I mean, I'm laying naked in front of a man who I do love, of course, and I do respect, and he respects me and he loves me. But there's still that vulnerability. There's still like, okay, I'm going to be completely spread open. I'm going to allow every sensation, every emotion, every little bit of pleasure, as well as the emotions that I personally associate with pain, like sadness, frustration, anger, even that, like, oh, some pain, rage, and pain body. I have the invitation to fully surrender into that moment. And when I do that, and when he uses a glass or metal toy with that, again, so I'm squeezing my PC muscles, and he's hitting all the right spots because he knows the flow. It actually creates this emotional cleansing that I like to say is like a year of therapy. Like, um, a few times ago, I just knew something I was carrying, and I was done carrying it, but I hadn't really let go. I didn't allow myself to let go of that energy just quite yet. And it didn't happen until this yoni massage where I had to really surrender. And I noticed that we were about 15 minutes into this massage, and I was like, I'm not surrendering. I'm not receiving. What in me is not letting go? And so while this was going on, I was having my own kind of thought process and healing process. And it was really surrendering to the divine masculine, to this masculine energy that was in front of me, because I was feeling anger, frustration, and sadness toward other masculine figures in my life in general. Um, and so I spent a whole song repeating, a queen knows how to surrender. A queen knows how to surrender. And I just kept repeating it in my mind like a mantra as he's still pleasuring me, as I'm still in the moment and I'm breathing and I'm moving. And after about that 3 or 4 minute song, the next song came on, and it was a full burst of surrendering to the divine masculine. It was a full release. And the orgasmic waves came with like big sobs and crying as well. So it's like bliss, and you're allowing the tears and you're allowing the sadness to be there. And it's, instead of being stuck and in that grip, it's flowing through your body with pleasure. And the pleasure is, that's what makes it so healing, because when your pleasure body is on board, the healing and the stuff that's really hard to feel, it's like a spoonful of sugar, but it's a spoonful of pleasure. So it's like, okay, I'm experiencing some big sadness, some big waves, but I'm also like orgasming through my face and my head, and my chakras are all lit up, and it's so amazing. And at this point, he knows that like the crying is sacred in that space. And so he checks in. How are you doing? Are you okay? Do you want to keep going? And of course, I'm like, yes, I want to keep going. And it feels like this energetic core through my body. Like I could feel the pieces of gunk just clear out with that. And so that's how you can bring and wrap around these pleasure tools in partnership to create moments of sacred sexuality like that, moments where the spirit can flow through you, moments where you get to actually understand the potency of our pleasure as this healing force, as this act of nourishment. And then, of course, there's the same kind of massage for him where you get to do that for him. And it's completely healing and earth shattering for him on that aspect. And um, I've got tantric date nights that involve all of this that are available, but as well as inside private coaching. So like I said, these things are taught. We didn't know how to do this. We were having, like missionary bang, 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 orgasm, orgasm, sex, and not having that depth of emotion and healing and this journey together in that space.
I love that so much. I think the way you shared it just showed people the actual transformation of what happens when you stay in that
Hmm.
pressure and you allow yourself to be in it, like you said, until you surrender to it, when you let it open and let it release.
Hmm.
And I feel like that is so important. I've always seen, I call this our powerhouse, right? This source of power, of passion, of creativity, the way of us to connect to everything else. And the way you were talking about it almost reminded me of when I was giving birth. I did all my births were like water in the water, natural birth. And it was almost the
Mm.
same thing, even though it was painful. There was this pressure, but yet there was some form of pleasure to it that went with the pressure and the pain, right? And so I feel like it was kind of the same until it released and birthed a baby. So, I feel like that is so powerful. So if people want to know more about you and how to get this transformation and how to do this massage and how to find the tools, where can they find you?
Well, my website is my name, so it's melaniebonk.com. You can follow me on Instagram at bonkbetter. I have so many freebies on my website. From right away on the homepage, there's a free connection practice. And then inside there's a tab that says freebies. There's a vulva meditation for women. There's a testicle massage for men that naturally boosts testosterone, libido, energy, and power in their bodies, as well as there's a meet yourself with love practice that is so powerful because out of all of these pleasure tools and tools available for healing, love has been scientifically proven to be the quickest route to transformation. So starting out with love and self-love, self-acceptance, self-compassion is really a bold way to go. um, I also have a date night membership. It's called the Bonk Better Date Night Membership. And it is a beautiful container because we are such busy humans. We all are. It's crazy. I mean, I've got 4 kids and they're all in different extracurricular activities and all of them going at once. So it's an opportunity to actually carve out time every month for your partnership, your connection, your bliss. So that's 90-minute date nights where I'm guiding you in the tools to begin to create this kind of sacred relationship with your pleasure and with your partner. It's 90 minutes of so much fun. We're getting out of the conversation of like Costco lists and to-do lists and who's going where, and we get into the heart space, into vulnerability, into really feeling our feels. And every week you get connection prompts. So you're building up energy and you're continuing that connection. It's making your partnership really a practice because if we don't invest that kind of love and intimacy and space into your container of partnership, then it's going to start to fizzle because it's an alive organic thing, and so it needs that focus, it needs that attention, it needs that container. So that's only $49 a month. I know, it's crazy. So you get all of the connection prompts as well as open office hours. I pop on twice a month and I just open up the Zoom and anybody can come with questions, curiosities, or some really big sticking points and we can coach through it together. Or some people just like to grab a cup of coffee and chill out. And then the 90-minute date night is at the end of the month.
I love that. That is incredible. What a great
Yeah,
deal. I would
I
recommend
know.
everybody to go run and spend some time with Melanie twice a month. How amazing is that be? And then bonk better. What else how does it get any better than that? So thank you so much
Yes.
for joining me for this awesome conversation. I feel like whoever
Yes.
is
Thank you for having
listening
me.
will benefit and learn and expand and receive so much just from being in this room. So I appreciate you so much. I appreciate you guys for listening and tune back with us again next week. I hope you have amazing sex. Bye.